gives the Astros a 5-4 lead.
102 losses.
6 consecutive losing seasons, including 102 just 2 years ago.
Right now, we just saw the Texas Rangers put together a perfect rebuild. The Tigers, on the other hand, showed us that losing doesn't always equal winning in the near future, but the tide could be changing in Detroit. The AL Central being what it is certainly helps too. Other teams in the division have tried the same approach, like the White Sox, who pulled off one of the biggest moves of the 2016 season. Receiving Moncada and Kopech was supposed to be the move that got the Southsiders back to relevance. 2019. Moncada was finally living up to the hype he once had as a #1 prospect. Jose Abreu was in his prime, Tim Anderson won the batting title, and with the trade that sent Jose Quintana to the Cubs 2 years earlier, Eloy Jimenez was breaking out as a rookie, and Lucas Giolito was going off a season where he was one of the worst pitchers in baseball, but turned himself into an all-star and received MVP votes. The record was showing improvement too, but the rebuild was showing big improvements. Jose Abreu won MVP the previous year, but Luke Voit also won the home run title, and respectfully, 2020 was fake. The White Sox had hype entering 2021, making a huge splash to sign Yasmani Grandal. Luis Robert was entering his first full season. He was a whole separate level of hype entering the year, and they lived up to that hype.
Rodon has thrown a no-hitter. That ball is gone! Here's a 1-2. Swing and a miss! Sox win the division!
Now just 2 years later, they become one of the laughingstocks of baseball. Jimenez can't stay healthy, Moncada is an average player at best, Anderson is unplayable, they wanted to give Grandal away. Kopech took a huge fall, they had a fire sale at the deadline, and with the team struggling so much, the front office didn't make it through the season. The team has no real sense of direction, and the 2024 season looks like it will be another failure. With just the 2 years of success, the White Sox showed us the opposite of the art of the rebuild.
The Houston Astros select Carlos Correa.
A monster move made this weekend. Nolan Arenado going to St. Louis.
Major breaking news out of baseball, where the Padres are finalizing a blockbuster trade to acquire Juan Soto from the Nationals.
2011. The Houston Astros were coming off a 106-loss season. This was their lone top 100 prospect, but little did they know that a 5'6", 21-year-old rookie who they previously told to never come back would save them. Jeff Luhnow would be hired as their new general manager, and majority of his decisions led them to a place not even the biggest Astro fans could imagine. His first 2 first-round draft picks in the middle of their first 2 100-loss seasons would be spot on. It was also pretty hard to miss in that 2011 draft. Oh, I hate my team. With the 2 leagues having an uneven amount of teams and the Astros having little success since their pennant in 2005, the league was deciding to move them to the American League West, with a lot of dismay from former Astros. Still just 1 top 100 prospect and even less wins than the previous 2 seasons. There was no light at the end of the tunnel. But they did change their logo and uniforms, which possibly showed a new era of Astros baseball in the American League. More losing provided more high draft picks, which resulted in... Thankfully, they get another high pick in 2015 since Aiken didn't sign, and after failing horribly the last 2 years, they'd make up for it with their first 2 picks that year. The pitching finally started to come in with the young bats. Dallas Keuchel would flip a switch, winning the Cy Young. Colin McHugh and Lance McCullers Jr. turned into solid middle rotation guys. The Astros decided to make a big splash at the deadline. This one didn't work out too well, but they set their organization up in such a great spot that a horrible trade like this didn't hurt them a ton. A young core, Cy Young, and other younger arms is usually a great sign, and the Astros made the most of it 2 years later.
The Houston Astros are world champions!
Trash cans, buzzers, it's all been talked about before, and if there was any doubt that they couldn't do it without them...
On a 2-1, Alvarez.
Also, this trade does not get talked about enough.
It's a high drive center field. Veerling's back. This game is turned upside down.
The Astros went through 3 seasons being the worst team in baseball. Tanking is frowned upon by the league, but if done right, the best case scenario is the Houston Astros. Their division rival, the Oakland Athletics, are tanking after having a successful run for a small market team. The difference is they aren't doing it to be successful in Oakland. I have a full video on my channel talking about this whole situation. Brent Rooker was their lone all-star, and the good news for Athletic fans is with salaries still expected to be low in 2024, he could be on the team again next year. And the good or bad news, depending on how you look at it, is the rookie who played only 69 games, nice, led the team in F4 by a solid amount. Again, he should be on the team next year as the team doesn't sell until it's time to pay them. They have a few years with Bolt still. There's still no franchise player on the team. And with that, no fans are buying current player jerseys because no one is exactly breaking down the door for someone who won't be on the team in 2 years. And for a team who's been one of the worst the last 2 years, you'd expect a loaded farm system, especially after the trades of Matt Chapman, Sean Murphy, and Matt Olson. But this is their current farm, and these are the guys who headline each trade.
That ball hit well toward right center field. There's strikeout number.
Swing and a miss. He struck him out.
This is bad even for their standards, but it gets worse. Drafting a football player over Grayson Rodriguez, Logan Gilbert, and Shane McClanahan. Murray was definitely a miss, but if we're being real, it was hard to hit in that 2018 draft. It's not looking too great. Once the Athletics start in Las Vegas, I'm sure they'll magically know how to be a real team again. But until then, I wouldn't recommend trading your 3-time Gold Glove third baseman for, whatever this is. Yet that wasn't even the worst trade of an all-star third baseman of the last 3 years.
On the ground to third, backhand stop, long throw, easy play for Nolan Arenado.
Oh, the Rockies. Some teams are stuck in between rebuilding or not. The Rockies are the perfect example of this, and it's not because they believe they're good enough to make the playoffs while everyone else knows they aren't. It's that they don't even know what they are doing themselves. There's a reason multiple media outlets say stuff like this about them. Trading a surefire Hall of Famer for not one quality Major League player is as bad as it gets. You can't build around Chris Bryant because he's always hurt. Brendan Rodgers was supposed to be that guy, but he hasn't lived up to expectations. There's never going to be a pitcher to build around in Colorado. Hell, maybe Nolan Jones will save the franchise. It's rough for Rocky fans. You can't see the light is at the end of the tunnel because they haven't acknowledged they need to enter the tunnel. You go and get a once-in-a-lifetime season from your 32-year-old catcher, and you don't trade him. 37-year-old closer who's having a career year, extend him. The farm is solid, but knowing the Rockies, they'll mess it up. Teams like the Dodgers and Braves have had so much success recently, yet the Dodgers don't have rebuild in their vocab, but Atlanta did it in a way we've never seen before, and teams are still not following for some reason. With their season ending to Juan Uribe in 2013, the Braves would miss the postseason 4 years in a row, and after another year of coming up short of the NLCS, the franchise knew it had to change.
Today, the Braves extended Ronald Acuna Jr. to an 8-year, $100 million contract.
A 7-year, $35 million contract extension for Braves second baseman Ozzie Albies.
Acuna would make around $400 million if a free agent. Instead, the Braves have the best team-friendly deal in the sport for the MVP. The Braves weren't the ones to invent early extensions, but they have been the ones to make it popular, and a few teams have done it themselves, and already it looks like it's working for them. Others have betted on players, and they didn't exactly work out the same. The Braves went from a forgettable team to a historic offense, but it still wasn't your typical rebuild. Rebuilds all come down to how well your front office is at scouting, drafting, and trading. For the most part, just don't be the Rockies. The Orioles are just starting being on the other side of the rebuild, but it's looking like they did it as well as you can possibly do. And it all started with one of the worst managerial decisions in recent memory.
Into left field, that's going to fall for a base hit. Please. Oh, there's a drive to deep left field, and the ball game is over.
From a wild card to 115 losses in 2 years, the rebuild was on. Showalter was out. The face of the franchise was traded, and the new one was one of the biggest laughingstocks in the game. The Machado trade didn't lead to anything more than Dean Kramer. Overall, the trades never really changed the direction of the franchise. Although it was obviously needed in 2018, the franchise wasn't headed in the right direction until 2019. Yes, Grayson Rodriguez was seen as a steal that year. I had to mention him before getting too far ahead. Bobby Witt Jr. is great, but it was impossible to mess up the #1 pick here. Gunnar Henderson wasn't some under-the-radar prospect no one has ever heard of entering the draft, but getting him with the 42nd pick really put a statement on the year. Their top picks the next 2 years are already in the majors, and Jackson Holliday, well,
look, we're looking at a future star of the game, no doubt in my mind.
First thing that jumps off the page is the tools.
He's a complete player.
Enrique Bradfield, your expectations are sky high. With their season ending a lot earlier than expected with the 1 seed, the rebuild hasn't been finished. But when you go from 52 to 101 wins in just 2 seasons, it's hard to deny the Baltimore Orioles have perfected the art of the rebuild.